Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. We are honored today, alhamdulillah, to have the chance, the tawfiq, the opportunity to celebrate the mab'ath of the final prophet, Prophet Muhammad salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And this is truly an honor, and not just because we are followers of this person. Even when you look at the change that the Prophet was able to bring from a social perspective, from a political perspective in the Arabian Peninsula, this individual that we refer to as the Prophet, he's a figure that's considered respected on a social scale, on a political scale, as one of the great leaders that was there throughout the history of mankind. When you look at the progress that the Prophet was able to make in the 60 years that he was alive, other than the fact that he brought us this new religion, again, that's something that we appreciate and understand more. But even from a social and political perspective, the change that the Prophet was able to bring to the Arabian Peninsula and take these Arabs who lived in the middle of the desert and used to eat lizards for their lunch and for their dinner, and lived very filthy lives. This is something that Imam Ali has mentioned multiple times in the Nahjul Balagha, telling them that, listen, before the Prophet came, you used to live very filthy lives. And he goes into detail as to what those filthy lives looked like. Other than bringing this new religion, he took these Arabs who lived these filthy lives, brought them up, elevated their status so much that they were now considered one of the powers in the world. Because the world, when we talk about the world back then, who are we talking about? We're talking about the Roman Empire, we're talking about the Persian Empire, and the Arabs weren't there in the picture until the Prophet came and elevated their status. And now you had this third, well, it wasn't necessarily an empire at the time of the Prophet, but you had this third power in the world that was called the power of Islam, or the Muslim nation, the Muslim Ummah. Other than the fact that we believe in the Prophet as a prophet and someone who brought us this religion, when you look at what he was able to do in that 60 years, that is truly remarkable. This is why understanding what the Prophet was able to do on the ground is very important, because historically, it's very significant for someone to be able to do something in the midst of the 60 years that he is alive. Recite salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil faraj. So the Prophet came, he brought us this religion of Islam, which we hold very dearly. One of the main characteristics of the religion of Islam, one of the things that makes Islam special compared to other religions that you might have out there, compared to other ideologies that you have out there, is that Islam is very comprehensive. Islam doesn't sit there with a couple of teachings, maybe a couple of akhlaqi teachings, and tell you, okay, you want to be a good person, you do these couple of things and you're fine. Fortunately or unfortunately, that's not what Islam has taught us. Islam goes into detail regarding many issues in our lives. When you take a look at the halal and haram that we have so many rulings that you have to have people who go and dedicate their life to studying these things. Why? Because Islam is comprehensive. When you compare that, for example, to Christianity. Now, of course, in the later decades now we have, if you're more of an Orthodox Christian, and you're a Catholic Christian, then there are books that they're putting out, booklets that they're putting out, like the Risalas that we have. But very limited compared to what Islam has had to say from the very beginning. Because Islam is very comprehensive like this, it has given its opinion regarding a lot of the issues that we deal with on a daily basis. For those of you who were here, I think 2 weeks ago, we started this topic regarding the signs of Allah, the signs that we receive from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we talked about why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends us signs and what we can understand from these signs. And then we mentioned a number of things. We said these things are things that in our cultures, we consider them signs from Allah. We say, oh, if you see this, this is a sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because Islam is a comprehensive religion, it has given its opinion regarding many of these things. One of them, which we will be discussing tonight, is the idea of dreams. Al-manam, al-ru'ya, whatever words you want to use to refer to it. This idea of dreams, we have quite a bit of teachings regarding it. The teachings aren't the normal teachings of halal and haram, no, but they're teachings as to what is a dream, how does it happen, what does it mean, is it a sign from Allah, is it not a sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and what are you supposed to do when you have these dreams? Are you supposed to do anything at all, or are you just supposed to, I had this dream and that's it? What is the path of the Ahlul Bayt, the sunnah of the Ahlul Bayt, when it came to this particular issue? So that's what we're going to be discussing today, inshallah. Recite aloud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil faraj. So when it comes to dreams, we're going to talk about a number of things. But let me start out like this. And usually this isn't what people are looking for, but that's fine. Let me start out by saying this, that in Islam, although we have teachings regarding dreams and ru'ya and manam, the main focus of Islam is on the time that you're actually awake. The time that you are actually awake. Sometimes we think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's as if He's another person like us. If He wants to communicate a message to us, we think that He can't do that while we're awake. I don't know what misunderstanding we have sometimes about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can't just come to us and talk to us. Maybe not directly, but through a tool, a medium. He can't talk to us while we're alive. That's why, because we have this understanding, then we start looking for His signs maybe when you're asleep. The first thing we need to understand is this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's not like a human being who has limitations. Human beings, they have limitations. Because of a number of reasons, they may not be able to communicate something directly. So they use indirect things. If I want to tell Brother Muhammad here that his shirt doesn't really look nice today, for example, right? As an example. I have limitations. Why? There's 100 people sitting here. If I say your shirt doesn't look nice, I have that limitation. I can't do that. So what do I do? He goes home. I send him a text, say, who helped you dress today, for example. Indirectly. Why? Because I'm a human being. I have limitations. But when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He doesn't have those limitations. So the first thing that we need to understand is that the best place to look for the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is when you're wide awake, when your eyes are open, you're looking around, your intellect is working completely fine. That's when you have to look for the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not necessarily when you're asleep. Now, I'm not saying that dreams don't mean anything, or that we're going to get into that, inshallah, very soon. What do dreams mean? We'll get into that, inshallah. But the main focus of Islam is when you're wide awake. That's the main focus of Islam. And that comes, as I mentioned that other time, through the Quran. That's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking to you. You don't have to wait for some weird sign. Sometimes a sister will say, I didn't wear hijab before, but one time I opened up the Quran and this verse came. It was as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was talking to me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was talking to you way before that. That's why He sent down that book. That was His way of talking to you. Now you close your eyes and you wait for some weird sign to come to you. That's on you. That's not on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Islam's focus is on when we are awake, wide awake. Recite the salawat, please. Now, when we talk about dreams, first we're going to talk about the general approach of the Ahlul Bayt. When they had a dream, what was their general approach? After that, we're going to talk about the different types of dreams that we have. And that's very important. There's a hadith from the 8th Imam, Imam al-Rida, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil faraj. In which he was asked about dreams. And this is of the Imam. The Imam says, and of course the Imam has knowledge. Still you see the normal approach to dreams. They asked the Imam, say, what do you do when you have dreams? He said, when I have dreams, I wake up. You know that phrase that we use, you say, Inshallah khair. I say, Inshallah, it's khair. And when I say that, I actually see later on good things happen in my life. This is a very, if a brother came to me and said, brother, I had a dream, Sheikh, I had a dream, and I were to tell him that, an answer like that, you know what he'll say? Sheikh doesn't know about dreams. But you see the Ahlul Bayt, they take a very simple approach. They see a dream, inshallah, it's khair. And that's it. They move on with their lives. The focus is on when they are awake, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking to them through the Quran. So what are the different types of dreams? This was the general approach of the Ahlul Bayt. What are the different types of dreams that we have? Do you have any idea? Rahmani and Shaitani. Well, that's pretty easy. That's kind of like cheating because either they're good or they're bad, right? So that's good. So we have three types of dreams, right? You have the first group, and this is the wording that Allama Tabatabai uses in his tafsir. He says the first group of dreams that you have, first category, are what we refer to as al-manamat as-sariha. Sarih means direct. What does this mean? I have a dream last night that Brother Muhammad Rizvi is going to come with a shirt that looks just like this. The next day I wake up, I come to the center, he comes with a shirt that looks just like this. Does this dream require any interpretation? No, because when I have the dream, it plays out in front of me. I have a dream that I'm speaking at IABA at 7:30. Oh, it plays out in front of me. This is the first category of dreams. These types of dreams are very little. We usually don't see these types of dreams. Sometimes it might happen, but pretty rare. This is the first group of dreams that we have. Second category is what they call غير صريحة, meaning that you see some stuff, but you don't know what it's referring to. I come to IABA, I feel sad, but I don't know where is that sadness going to come to me when I come to IABA. This is غير صريحة, meaning that it's not direct, it's not clear. I need someone to interpret this dream for me. This is the second category. And then we have the third category. What's the third category? The ones that you ate too much last night, and then you start having these weird dreams at night. Al-ahlam, or what it's referred to in Surah Yusuf, when the companions of the Pharaoh told him about his dream, they said, أَذْغَاثُ أَحْلَامٍ. These are just messed up dreams. It can have a number of reasons. You might be stressed, you might have eaten too much, you might have been sleeping at a time that you're not supposed to sleep at. It might be because of something you've been thinking about the whole day. So we have these three types of dreams. Recite a salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad ajil faraj. Now, when we go to the other ahadith that we have from the Prophet, this one is from the Prophet. The Prophet, again, he has three categories for dreams. It's another categorization that the Prophet makes. Okay. What is this categorization? The Prophet says dreams are of three types. Either they are bushran min Allah, they are a good news coming to you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أو تحزين من الشيطان, or shaitan wants to make you sad. Why does he want to do that? We'll talk about that. تحزين من الشيطان أو ما يحدث به نفسك, or what your soul is just talking about and thinking about. Now, when we take these three categories into account, neither of them are a call to worry about anything. When you have a dream, it's nothing to worry about. Either it is bushran min Allah, it's good news coming to you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أو تحزين من الشيطان, shaitan wants to make you sad and worried. Does that mean you should be sad and worried? No, that's what shaitan wants to do. أو ما يحدث به نفسك, or it's what you have been thinking about, what your nafs is telling you about. These are the three categories that the Prophet uses. Recite a salawat, please. Because we have this in many situations when people came and they wanted to explain to others their dreams, the Prophet sometimes would tell them not to speak of their dreams. This one person came to the Prophet, he said, Ya Rasulullah, come here, I want to tell you what kind of dream I had. And the Prophet said, لا تحدث الناس بتلاعب الشيطان بك. Don't go around telling everyone how shaitan was playing with you. What does that mean? It means that the third category, where the nafs is just busy with the day-to-day thoughts that we have, the materialistic thoughts that we have, this is shaitan that's playing with us. The Prophet says you don't have to go around and tell everyone how shaitan was playing with you. Doesn't mean that this person is a bad person. No, he's a weak person. He's just like me. His iman is weak. He's dealing with day-to-day issues on a daily basis. Shaitan is playing with his mind because instead of thinking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's thinking about random things. So this is the approach that the Prophet would take. Seeing dreams is really not a call to worry about anything. Reason why I'm saying this, brothers and sisters, a brother will come, a sister will come, they will say, I've been having this dream 4 nights in a row, 5 nights in a row, and it's a bad dream. Am I supposed to be worried about something? If it was not anything serious, why am I having this dream 5 times in a row? The general approach of the Ahlul Bayt is that you're not supposed to worry about the dreams. Not supposed to worry about them. Now, if someone does have a bad dream, there are specific instructions that the Ahlul Bayt have given in terms of what you can do. What you can do. But still, it's nothing to worry about. This is tahzinun min ash-shaytan. Shaitan wants you to be worried. It's not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that wants you to be worried. Now, we'll talk about bad dreams. What happens? Recite the salawat there. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa Muhammad. So trying to figure out the interpretation to these dreams and what is exactly is this referring to? What is that referring to? Number one, you shouldn't stress that too much. Shouldn't stress that. Now, if you have a way of finding out, that's great. You should let me know as well. Okay, I don't know. If you guys have a way of finding out, let me know. Okay. You shouldn't have to stress that so much. Number one. Number two, someone says, no, I've been having this dream. This dream, it really means something. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is really trying to communicate something to me. Okay. Let me tell you this. We have hadith that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was communicating not with normal people, with the prophets, and the dreams that they saw were always sadiqa or sariha, the types of dreams that would play out in front of them. Okay? We have hadith that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only communicates 1/50th of the things that He wants to say, 1/70th of what He wants to communicate to the human being, 1/70th of that is through dreams. Where's the other 69 parts of it? It's that Quran that's sitting in front of you. So that's the general approach of the Ahlul Bayt. Now you say, take a step further, you say, no, Maulana, this is a dream. I really want to know the interpretation to it. Let me explain just how difficult interpreting these things are and why. What happens when we have a dream? What exactly happens with our soul when we have a dream? Recite a salawat, please. So we know that we live in this world that we live in, the material world that we live in, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to it in the Quran as ad-dunya. What does dunya mean literally, Muhammad? You don't know. Dunya means the lowest, right? Adna dunya, right? Akbar kubra. You know how we use that? Dunya means the lowest. Why is this the lowest level? Because there are the most limitations, right? Like for example, one of the limitations that are there is I can't see what's really going on in the mind of Brother Muhammad here, right? It's a world of material. I'm limited, right? Then you have a second world. This world is a world we refer to as the world of barzakh. This world has less limitations. Then you have a third world, which the ulama refer to as alamul aql. That last world has no limitations at all, no materialistic limitations at all. Let me give you some examples. They say that in this world, things have mass, and they have the attributes of material. When it comes to barzakh, things don't have mass. You don't have material in that world, but the attributes of material are there. When Brother Muhammad sees me in his dream, am I actually there? No, I'm not there. But the attributes of material are there. The color of my skin, how tall I am, how short I am, the color of my clothes. The attributes of material are there in the second world. In the third world, alamul aql, there is nothing that has to do with material. For example, concepts. The concept of love. Does that have color? No, the concept of love doesn't have any color. Kindness, does that have a color? Does it have a shape? Does it have a size? Doesn't have any of those. So you see, in that last world, alamul aql, there are the least limitations, no limitations at all. So what happens? I go to sleep. This is what happens. Your soul leaves your body. What happens in death, right? Your soul leaves your body. It goes and it visits these other worlds, or you can refer to them as dimensions. It goes and it visits these other dimensions. In those other dimensions, in alamul barzakh or alamul aql, your soul witnesses certain things. It sees certain things. When it sees those things, your soul comes back and is connected with your body again. Now, if you are a purified individual, if you're not the type of person that deals with materialistic issues on a daily basis, when your soul comes back, it can tell you exactly what it has seen, which would be a sariha dream, the type of dream that's very direct. You know, you need no interpretation for it. If not, if you're not purified, you're less purified, what happens? Your soul comes back. It has seen certain things, but because that information is going through the filter of your soul, now it shows you things that aren't really what the soul saw. Other things that have to do with it. Other things that you associate with those things in your mind. Now, this is the tricky part. And this is the reason why I say that if someone is going to go find out the interpretation of their dreams or anything like that, this is the tricky part. This is why you have to be very cautious. This is why, brothers and sisters, if you're going to do that, you have to make sure that this person is the right person. Now, like I said, the general approach of the Ahlul Bayt is you don't have to do that. But I'm just saying, if someone really wants to do that, then you have to be very careful. Why? We said the soul goes, it sees things, and then it comes back and it tells you what it saw. Okay. For our souls, or I can speak for myself, my soul, because it's not 100% purified, what happens? The soul will witness things. When it goes through the filter of my soul, it comes out as other things. So what I see in my dream, different things than what my soul actually experienced, what my soul actually witnessed. What happens when it's coming through the filter? اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرج. For example, a lot of times we associate things with their causes. Together. Sometimes you see something. So, for example, in your dream, light. See, there's everywhere. This is an example. This doesn't all examples. Okay? Hopefully we're clear on that. You see light and you think, oh, I saw light. But why is it that you're seeing light? Because your mind associates light with knowledge. Because knowledge is something that enlightens other things. It sheds light. It was what? It was knowledge. But how does it in your dream? Comes out with why? You see yourself putting on new clothes. Why? Because this is something your mind associates with marriage. What you saw in the dream was marriage, but the way it showed two concepts together. This is the easy part. Something else, concepts that our minds associate together. Say life and, usually we will say death. Life and death, these two associate these two with one another. In your dream, you saw life, you see death. You see the exact opposite of it. This is why, brothers and sisters, when it comes to dreams, we have to be super careful, super cautious, because maybe what you're seeing is the exact opposite of what your soul actually witnessed. Why? Because your mind associates these two together. Another example, Hot and cold. What you were seeing was something hot. You were going to burn in hellfire. Then you come in your dream. What do you see in your dream? You see you're having a great time. There's a breeze coming. So what does that mean? Maybe your mind is associating it with the opposite of it. This is why, brothers and sisters, if we're going to go to someone to ask for the interpretation of the dream, you have to make 100% sure that this person is a reliable person. Because even if he's off a little bit, that can cause serious issues. Recite as-salawat. Let me give you an example. This is an example that Allama Tabatabai mentions in Surah Yusuf. When he's discussing Surah Yusuf, he talks about this example in particular. He says, and this is a historical narration. He says a person came to one of the ulama and he said, I'm having a dream and I need you to interpret this dream. Do tafsir of this dream. This person said, the alim said, what is it that you're dreaming, you're having? And this is coming from a reliable source. Allama Tabatabai obviously is a reliable source. He said that, what is this dream that you're having? He said, I have a dream that I am stamping people's mouths, which is a really odd type of dream. I'm stamping people's mouths. I'm shutting people's mouths. And there's nothing that I can think of that, that would be associated with something like this. So I need you to do tafsir of the dream. Now I'm going to mention the interpretation of that one. But if I give you 1,000 chances, you and I will never be able to guess what it means. There should be some guesses in your mind right now. But there's no way we will be able to guess. And then when I mention it, you'll say this is a very weird connection. But that's the whole point. Because every concept can have 1,000 connections with other concepts. It's the person who is interpreting the dream that knows which one of these connections this dream is referring to. So this person, he's having a dream, he's stamping people's mouths. What's your guess, Brother Muhammad? Making them be quiet. That's a very good guess. So he comes to the alim. He says that I'm having this dream. The alim says, you know what that means? That means you are going to be a mu'adhin. You're going to be what? Mu'adhin, a person who gives adhan. So wait a second. What does that have to do with stamping people's mouths? He says, well, you're going to be a mu'adhin, which means you're going to say adhan when? During the month of Ramadan, you're going to say adhan. When you say adhan during the month of Ramadan, what are you doing? You're telling people that they can't eat anymore. This is why you're seeing this act that you're going to be doing later on. You're seeing it as what? As stamping people's mouths. Because when you take on that role of being a mu'adhin, you give adhan, you're closing people's mouths. They're not able to eat anymore. Now there's 1,000 connections like the guess that Brother Muhammad made. There's 1,000 connections we can make with stamping people's mouths. But that's the whole point. The whole point is that there's 1,000 connections. We don't know which one of these it is. It could be the exact opposite of what we're seeing in the dream. That's why when we go to someone, we have to be 100% sure that this person is 100% reliable in this regard. Recite as-salawat, please. Now, a couple of instructions that we have from the Ahlul Bayt in this regard. One of the instructions that we have from the Ahlul Bayt is that when you see dreams, you should not go and tell someone who is hasud. Hasud, meaning someone who is jealous. So, sisters, if you see a dream, be careful who you tell. That's one of the things that we have. Another thing is you should not go to someone who's jahil and tell them. People who are ignorant from an Islamic point of view. You shouldn't go to them and tell them. And number 3 is going out in public and telling everyone. That is not a good idea. This is something that the Ahlul Bayt have taught us. That when you have a dream, you're concerned about it, it's not something you should be going out and telling in the public. This is some of the instructions we have in terms of if I want to find out the interpretation of my dream, who am I supposed to tell, who am I not supposed to tell? The next instruction that we have is this. What if I do have a bad dream? Sometimes you really, honestly, you have a bad dream. You might wake up in the middle of the night, you really feel sad and worried. You feel concerned. You wake up in the morning, you have had this dream 4 or 5 times these past nights. Something that you feel worried about it. 2 things that we can do. Again, like I said, it's nothing to worry about. A lot of times these dreams that we have that are very much worrying and concerning, it's because of the day-to-day issues that you're dealing with, the stresses that you're dealing with on a daily basis. But if you have a bad dream, what do the Ahlul Bayt tell us to do? 2 things. Number 1, the hadith says that you turn to your left side and you say, A'udhu Billah Minash Shaitanir Rajim 3 times. This is one of the things that's been prescribed for this. And the second thing, if you really want to not worry about it anymore, is a little bit of sadaqah. You put aside a little bit of sadaqah. That's it. That's not, there are some other instructions, adhkar, that you can say. But you see, the Ahlul Bayt took a very simple approach when it comes to dreams. If you're worried, you can do 1 or 2 of these things. Do not let these things cripple your life. Do not let these things creep into your life and cause issues between husbands and wife and family. Why? Because I've been having this dream about you. What have you been doing? We hear that sometimes. These are not, dreams are not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's number 1 way of speaking to you. Okay, recite a salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And the last point that I'm going to make, inshallah, the last point is this, because I also want to explain about the a'mal of today. The last point that I'm going to mention is this, and this is the most critical point that we're going to talk about tonight. So please, in case you've been tired or haven't been paying attention, or whatever the case may be, no problem. I need your attention with regards to this point, okay? One of the issues that comes up a lot is dreaming and seeing the Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt in your dream. Sister will say, I saw, saw the Imam, this Imam, that Imam, and they were doing this, or they told me to do this, or they told me to do that. Okay. What is the approach of the ulama when you see the Prophet or the Ahlul Bayt in your dream? We have a very famous hadith. This hadith, understanding it is quite complicated. The hadith is this: the Prophet has said, whoever sees me in his dream has seen me. Meaning what? Meaning that if you see me in your dream, that means that it wasn't shaitan portraying himself as me, or it wasn't shaitan making someone else look like me. But pay attention to the wording of the hadith. The hadith said, if you see me, then that means you're definitely seeing me. Okay, that's all the hadith tells us. A lot of people, and some of the ulama, I will say this, it's a matter of dispute. Some of the ulama have said this, that means that if you see the Prophet or the Ahlul Bayt in your dream, and you just know that this is the Prophet or the Ahlul Bayt, that is in fact the Prophet or the Ahlul Bayt. Some of the ulama have said this. Others from the ulama have disputed this. They say, no, the Prophet, what he was trying to say is that if someone knows how I look from his companions, if they know how the Prophet looks and they see that look in their dream, then that means they're seeing the Prophet. But for people who don't know how the Prophet looks, then that doesn't necessarily mean they're seeing the Prophet. Because the hadith says, Man ra'ani faqad ra'ani. If you see me, then that means you have seen me. But we don't know. This face that we're seeing in the dream, is it really the Prophet? Is this how the Prophet looked? For us, we don't know that. So, I'm not saying that if you see a dream of the Prophet or the Ahlul Bayt, it's fake or it's wrong. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying that the ulama have a difference of opinion. Some of them say if you see the Prophet or the Ahlul Bayt in your dream, that is actually the Prophet or the Ahlul Bayt. Some of them say, no, it may not be them. Not necessarily. This is a very important point, because when we see the Prophet or the Ahlul Bayt in our dreams, naturally we take them very seriously. That's the last point I want to mention regarding dreams, inshallah. There are some other points, but I want to talk a little bit about the day of Mab'ath. So the day of Mab'ath, there are, the night of Mab'ath, which was last night. I think Maulana Elia was here, right? So you guys did some of the a'mal, I'm guessing. No? You guys? So we have some of the a'mal for the night of Mab'ath. We also have some of the a'mal for the day of Mab'ath. Doing ghusl is one of them. Salawat ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad is another one of them. Recite a salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil faraj. And then there is one of the a'mal that I can't really explain all of it because it's a pretty long one. You can take a look at it in the mafatih or even on your phones if you search for it, or they have it on duas.org as well if you guys want to check there. It's rakats, and then after you perform the 12 rakats, there's 6 surahs that you have to recite 7 times. And 7 times. That's another one of the a'mal that we have. I think the only one that we could possibly do as a group is the ziyarat of Imam Ali salawatullah alayhi and the Prophet. Recite a salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil faraj. So this is just a general outline of the a'mal that is done on the day of Mab'ath. I'm not sure how you guys usually do it here, but that's a general view regarding the a'mal of this day. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He teaches us our duties and our responsibilities as the followers of the Ahlul Bayt. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gives us the chance, the opportunity, the tawfiq to actually carry out these duties and these responsibilities. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He frees our brothers and sisters from the pain, the agony, the difficulties that they're in all of the Muslim world. I'm not hearing the Ameen. I don't know if brothers are praying. Are you guys praying or you're not praying? We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He prolongs the life of our dear Maraji'. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He hastens the return of our 12th beloved Imam. Recite a salawat, please.